Hi! Shooters are one of the most spectacular genres in gaming. Explosions, massive battles, insane pacing, moments that literally take your breath away. All of it makes them perfect for anyone who wants to feel real action. But not all shooters are the same. Some games just let you shoot. And then there are the ones you remember for their set pieces, mechanics, and that blockbuster feeling. And today, we've picked exactly those, the coolest, the most spectacular shooters that truly know how to impress. Let's start with Battlefield 1. This isn't just a World War I shooter, it feels like an interactive war movie. There's nothing clean or controlled about the combat. Everything around you is collapsing, tanks are pushing forward, planes are crashing, and the ground is exploding beneath your feet. Every map feels like a scene from a big-budget film, where you're not a lone hero, but part of a massive, chaotic battlefield. What really stands out is the variety. You can start in the trenches with a rifle, then suddenly charge on horseback with a saber, jump into a tank, or take to the skies. The game constantly shifts its pace and never lets you get bored. And the short war stories in the campaign feel like a collection of powerful mini-narratives, each with its own tone and style. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. This is classic Call of Duty at its best, fast, cinematic, and incredibly polished. The campaign plays out like a spy thriller where you're not just shooting, but taking part in covert ops, interrogations, and stealth missions. The game constantly throws new scenarios at you, from quiet infiltration to full-scale firefights. Some missions can be approached in different ways: stealthy, aggressive, or a mix of both. There are even small choices that slightly affect the story, which is pretty rare for the series. And of course, the signature presentation is here. Explosions, chases, scripted moments, everything is done at a high level and keeps you engaged all the way through. Resident Evil Village. This is a unique mix of horror and shooter that constantly plays with your expectations. It may look like a typical survival horror at first, but the game keeps shifting its pace. One moment you're exploring a creepy castle, the next you're in a tense chase, and then suddenly it turns into almost pure action. The weapons feel powerful, enemies are varied, and each location feels like its own story with unique mechanics. Sometimes you're barely surviving with limited resources, and other times you're taking down waves of enemies. What really stands out is the pacing. Village keeps surprising you and never lets you settle into one style, so every new section feels fresh. Ready or Not. This is the complete opposite of a typical shooter. It's all about tension, precision, and control. Every mission feels like a real tactical operation. You move slowly, listen for footsteps, check every corner, and coordinate with your team. One wrong move, and it's over in seconds. Enemies behave unpredictably. They might surrender, fake it, or suddenly open fire from around a corner. You have to use flashbangs, door mirrors, and proper coordination, just like in a tactical movie. And because of that, every encounter feels intense and real. Doom: The Dark Ages. This looks like an even more brutal version of Doom, but with a dark medieval twist. Instead of sci-fi, you've got heavy armor, massive castles, and the feeling that you're a demon-slaying knight just pushing forward and destroying everything in your path. The gameplay is still fast and aggressive, but now it has more weight. Weapons sound heavier, hits feel stronger, and combat is more up close and personal. You're not just shooting, you're charging into enemies, chaining attacks, and constantly staying in motion. It's pure adrenaline, but with a fresh visual style that really reinvents the formula. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. At its core, this game is all about atmosphere. It's the same zone we fell in love with in the original trilogy, tense, mysterious, and in some way even familiar. It's a place where stalkers chase their dreams despite the danger. And the best part is, the developers didn't just preserve that feeling, they amplified it. The zone feels deeply personal, like a world where you're truly alone with yourself. One of the strongest aspects is the visuals. At times, it doesn't even feel like a game, it feels almost real. Lighting, weather, environmental detail, everything works together to pull you in. And the locations are on another level. The developers brought back familiar areas from the original games, merged them into one seamless world, and added new regions on top. You walk through places you recognize, but at the same time they feel different, changed, aged, just like the zone itself. Cyberpunk 2077. This is a shooter that gives you complete freedom in how you play. You can go in as a classic gunner with rifles and shotguns, turn into a cyber ninja with blades, or take enemies down through hacking without firing a single shot. And the best part, all of it works within one system, so you build your own playstyle. Combat is fast and highly cinematic. Quick movement, implants, time slowdown, hacking right in the middle of a fight. You can blind enemies, detonate their grenades, or disable their weapons, all in real time. Every encounter becomes more than just shooting, it turns into pure improvisation. Metro Exodus. This is a shooter about atmosphere and a real journey. Instead of constant pressure like in classic linear games, you're given semi-open areas where you decide where to go and how to approach situations. But you can never fully relax. Danger is always there, in every step you take. Weapons are a big part of the experience. You can customize them on the fly, swapping scopes, barrels, suppressors depending on the situation. And since resources are always limited, you're constantly making decisions, fight or avoid. It feels like a true odyssey through a post-apocalyptic world. The environment is incredibly detailed. Lighting, weather, and world design make it feel almost real. And the characters feel alive too. At some point, you realize you're not just playing, you're actually living through this journey with them. Dying Light, the Beast. This one is all about speed and aggression. You're not just shooting, you're constantly moving, running across rooftops, jumping, dodging, and diving into fights at full speed. Parkour isn't just a feature here, it's the core of the gameplay. At the same time, the game gives you a real sense of power. You're not always the victim, sometimes you are the threat. The mix of melee combat, firearms, and mobility creates incredibly dynamic moments, especially when you're surrounded by enemies. Every fight feels chaotic, but still under your control. Atomfall. This game immediately stands out with its atmosphere. A British post-apocalypse where everything feels calm, but something is clearly wrong. Green fields, quiet villages, and a constant sense of unease. The game doesn't guide you, no markers, no hand-holding. You gather clues, listen to conversations, and decide where to go next. And early on, you meet characters that you genuinely start to care about. The gameplay is built around survival and choice. Weapons are limited, ammo is scarce, and every encounter feels risky. You can negotiate, sneak around, or go in guns blazing. The combat and stealth are fairly basic, nothing groundbreaking, but it's fully compensated by the atmosphere, exploration, and freedom. You choose your own path, make your own decisions, and that's what makes Atomfall so engaging from the very start. Titanfall 2. This is one of those shooters where the gameplay constantly surprises you. You're not just running and shooting, you're wall running, chaining jumps, building speed, turning movement into a smooth and fast parkour system. And then the game introduces Titans, massive mechs, and suddenly the pace shifts into something heavier and more tactical. But the real highlight is the mission design. Almost every level introduces a new mechanic or idea, so the campaign never feels repetitive. One moment you're playing with time, the next you're solving combat puzzles. Because of that, Titanfall 2 feels like a constantly evolving ride full of new experiences. Singularity. This is a classic shooter with a unique twist, time manipulation. You have a device that lets you speed up, slow down, or even age objects in the middle of combat. And that opens up a lot of possibilities. Destroy enemy cover, turn enemies into dust, or restore objects. Because of that, combat feels different. You're not just shooting, you're combining abilities with weapons, experimenting, and finding your own solutions. The game also keeps a solid pace, constantly introducing new situations and keeping things fresh, even years after its release. Wolfenstein II, the new Colossus. This is pure adrenaline wrapped in a crazy story. The game doesn't hold back. It's brutal, loud, and sometimes completely insane. You're pushing through waves of enemies, destroying everything around you, and feeling like an unstoppable force. The key strength here is the pace and combat variety. You can go all in with dual weapons, play it stealthy, or switch between styles on the fly. Levels are designed with freedom in mind, multiple paths, verticality, different approaches. Every fight feels different, but always intense and cinematic. Crysis Remastered. This is all about freedom and technology that still feels impressive today. Your main tool is the nanosuit, which gives you different modes: invisibility, armor, speed, powerful jumps. And you decide how to approach every situation. You can move quietly in stealth or activate armor and go full chaos. The environment plays a big role. Trees fall, cover breaks, everything reacts to your actions. Because of that, every fight feels like a sandbox where you create your own spectacle. Deathloop. This one really stands out with its presentation. It's not just a shooter, but a stylish time loop where you relive the same day over and over again. But with each run, you learn more, discover new paths, and start playing more confidently. Combat is all about combinations. Weapons, abilities, and the environment all work together. You can teleport, set traps, turn enemies against each other, or just go in guns blazing. And the best part is the feeling that you're slowly turning from a beginner into someone who completely understands how to master this perfect day. Prey. This is a shooter that gives you more than just weapons. It gives you systems to interact with the world. You can fight, but you can also think, transform into objects, hack systems, or use the environment against enemies. The game constantly encourages experimentation. What really stands out is the freedom. Almost every situation has multiple solutions. Crawl through vents, build paths with foam, disable turrets, or just go in head-on. Because of that, every encounter feels like a small puzzle where you decide how to survive. Bioshock Infinite. This is a shooter that hooks you right away with its presentation. The floating city of Columbia looks bright and beautiful, but underneath that beauty there's constant tension, like everything could fall apart at any moment. The game balances calm exploration with sudden bursts of action, keeping you engaged the whole time. Combat stands out thanks to its mobility. The hook system and sky rails let you move quickly across arenas, change positions, and attack from unexpected angles. And the vigors add even more variety, controlling crowds, boosting attacks, combining effects with weapons. As a result, fights feel fast, dynamic, and highly cinematic. RoboCop Rogue City. This is a shooter built around weight and power. You're not a fast, agile character, you're a walking tank, moving forward and methodically eliminating everything in your path. Bullets bounce off, enemies get thrown around, and every shot feels heavy and brutal. The game really sells that sense of strength. You can destroy the environment, use objects as weapons, break through doors, and just push forward without stopping. There's also a bit of detective work, investigations, dialogue, choices, but the core is the combat, where you truly feel like RoboCop. Cyberpunk 2. This is pure, concentrated action with no filler. The game throws you straight into chaos and never lets go. Everything is built around speed, reflexes, and control. You burst into a room, activate slow motion, and wipe out enemies in seconds. The key mechanic is the balance between aggression and tactics. You can turn invisible, flank enemies, then suddenly switch into full combat. Enemies react smartly, use cover, and overwhelm you with numbers. Because of that, every fight feels intense, fast, and visually explosive. No room to relax. Borderlands 4. This is all about chaos, style, and an endless stream of loot. Shooting is combined with a huge variety of weapons, each with its own unique effects. Some fire rockets, others lasers, and some behave in completely unpredictable ways. Combat is bright, explosive, and constantly in motion. Abilities, enemies, and effects all stack together into pure chaos. And co-op makes it even better. Everything on screen looks insane, but you're still in control. The game doesn't try to be serious, it just delivers fun and spectacle in its purest form. Far Cry New Dawn. This one stands out with its setting right away, a bright, colorful post-apocalypse that feels very different from the usual dark and gritty worlds. Instead of gray ruins, you get vibrant landscapes, overgrown nature, and a strange sense of beauty mixed with chaos. It still has that classic Far Cry freedom, but the atmosphere makes everything feel fresh and a bit unexpected. Gameplay leans more into progression and experimentation. You upgrade your gear, craft weapons, and slowly push into tougher areas. Outposts can be handled your way, stealth, long range, or full chaos. And there's even a system that lets you replay them at higher difficulty for better rewards. It's still Far Cry at its core, but with just enough twists to make it feel different and more engaging. Warhammer Darktide. This is a shooter that hits you with atmosphere and scale. You're constantly in dark, filthy environments with waves of enemies charging at you, creating the feeling of a full-on fight for survival. The game captures that chaos perfectly. Screams, metal, gunfire, everything blends into one intense experience. Combat is built around a mix of melee and shooting. Ammo is limited, so you're constantly switching between weapons, fighting your way through hordes. And co-op makes it even better. When your team works together, every mission turns into a tense and highly cinematic run where every mistake matters. Shadow Warrior 3. This is pure fun and speed. The game doesn't try to be serious. It goes all in on fast-paced gameplay, bright levels, and aggressive combat. You're always moving, jumping, grappling, diving into enemies, and tearing through them with both melee and guns. You can use the environment, finishers, and special abilities to create over-the-top action moments. Enemies get thrown around, arenas are designed for constant movement, and every fight feels like a fast, stylish burst of action with no downtime. Rage 2. This is a shooter where the main focus is how good it feels to play. The gunplay is powerful, weapons feel heavy, abilities add speed, and enemies constantly push you to play aggressively. You're not hiding, you're pushing forward and controlling the fight. The game also gives you room to experiment. You've got abilities like dashes, ground slams, and telekinesis, and you can combine them freely in combat. As a result, every encounter turns into a chaotic spectacle where you create your own moments, throwing enemies out of cover, blowing them up, and finishing them off instantly. It's a shooter where style matters just as much as winning. Crisol, Theater of Idols. This one immediately stands out with its presentation. A dark, stylish shooter built around atmosphere and a very unusual world. Spanish horror aesthetics, religious imagery, strange mechanisms, and the feeling of being inside a distorted theater. It all creates a dense and unsettling mood from the very beginning. The key mechanic is using blood as a resource. You're not just shooting, you're sacrificing your own health to attack, which makes every fight more tense and deliberate. Add in bizarre enemies, unique visuals, and a constant sense of danger, and you get a shooter that's less about pure action and more about atmosphere and style. That's how this video turned out. And honestly, it's not even about how many games we included. What matters is how differently each one shows what this genre can be. So now the real question is, do all of them truly fit the theme? Or are there games that hit even harder? Let me know what you'd add to this list. The Image Game Channel was with you. Have a nice day.